lipids. Basically, we are going to look at the structure of lipids, the properties of lipids, and the different types of lipids and their functions in the body. So lipids, like proteins and carbohydrates, are also organic compounds found in living organisms. Unlike proteins and lipids, proteins and carbohydrates, lipids are insoluble in water, but they are soluble in non-polar solutions. Okay, so when we looked at the proteins, we realized that they have like a common structure. Okay, uh, unlike lipids, okay, so let's basically start this afresh. We are going to look at lipids, what they are, what are their roles in the body, and also we'll look at the different types of lipids, the composition of lipids, and where do we get lipids from, and how, uh, how do our bodies actually utilize lipids. Lipids are not soluble in water, but they can only be soluble in non-polar solvents. So they are not like the proteins and the carbohydrates. For them, they are soluble in water. Okay. The other thing about lipids is that they do not have a common structural feature. Okay. They actually vary, but all of them actually contain carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Lipids mainly are used to store energy. Okay, so if your body wants extra energy, then lipids can be metabolized to release that energy. So we can have also carbohydrates turned into lipids for storage, such that they can be utilized for future use. And then lipids also protect or insulate. They insulate our bodies against heat loss. So they play an important role in uh, heat regulation or thermal regulation. There are also structural components of the cell membranes. The lipids are also structural components of the cell membrane, and then they play an important role in what you can call communication. So they can carry messages between cells, as we shall look at later on. The classification of lipids depends on their chemical composition and also the properties that they have. So we can have simple lipids, which are basically esters of fatty acids with various alcohol molecules. So we can have what we call triglycerides, which basically consist of the fats and the oils and then the waxes. Triglycerides are basically the storage form of energy. And then the waxes provide protection and waterproofing in the ears. The complex lipids, these ones actually contain other components, contain other components in addition to what we usually know about lipids. So they can contain the phosphate group, then that is what we call the phospholipids. They can have the carbohydrate component, and then that is what we call the glycolipids. And then we have the sphingolipids. Okay, the complex lipids, therefore, are very important um, components of the cell membrane, and they play an important role in signaling. So the triglycerides, which I said are the most abundant type of lipids in the body, and they are the storage forms of lipids, and they fall under the category of simple lipids. They basically consist of three fatty acids, which combine through a process called esterification to esterification. So we have the three fatty acids combining with with a glycerol molecule to give the triglyceride. And we have already emphasized that the triglycerides are important energy storage molecules. Okay, so three fatty acid chains combine with a molecule of glycerol to form triglycerides. A glycerol is basically a three-carbon molecule that has hydroxyl groups on each carbon atom. And then the fatty acids are basically the long chain, hydrocarbon chains with a carboxyl group at the extreme end. So, like I said, the process of combination of the glycerol and the fatty acids is what we call esterification. So the foods that contain glycerides include butter, oils, animal fats, and other plant-based oils. Okay, uh, when we take in these foods that contain triglycerides, when digestion takes place, they will be split into the fatty acids and the glycerol. So these are the components that will actually be absorbed by the body and then be utilized by the body. So let's look at the fatty acids. Fatty acids are natural occurring monocarboxylic acids. So they have one carboxyl group. Okay, they are basically part of very complex lipid molecules, and they can be unbranched. Mostly they are unbranched, and they have an even number, even number of carbon atoms. So the classification of fatty acids depends on a number of factors. We can have the classification based on the length of the chains, where you can have the long chain fatty acids, medium chain fatty acids, and then a short chain fatty acids. But we can also have the classification that is actually based on the presence of double bonds in the carbon chain. So we can have what we call the saturated fatty acids. These ones do not have double bonds in their carbon chains. So typically, these ones will be solid at room temperature. Okay, palmic acid and stearic acid are examples of saturated fatty acids. The unsaturated fatty acids contain double bonds. Okay, they contain double bonds in their carbon chain. The double bonds can be one or even more than one. So these ones are usually liquids at room temperature. So we have oleic acid and then linoleic acid. And then we have the polyunsaturated fatty acids. These ones have many double bonds in their carbon chains. Others can have more up to 6 carbon double bonds. Okay, 6 double bonds in their structure. Another category of polyunsaturated fatty acids are what we call esconoids. Esconoids are very important biological molecules because they participate in important physiological processes such as blood clotting, immunoresponses, and also inflammation. They are produced and released by certain cells in response to a specific stimuli. So the examples or the types of esconoids include prostaglandins, which are derived from arachidonic acid, and they are involved in the process of inflammation, pain signaling, and blood flow regulation. And then we have what you call thromboxanes. These ones are also derived from arachidonic acid and play an important role in blood clotting and also vasoconstriction. And then we have what you call leukotrienes. The leukotrienes are derived also from arachidonic acid and contribute to immunoresponses and also in processes of vasoconstriction and inflammation. Lipoxins and the others are actually very important mediators that promote inflammation and tissue repair resolutions. So the lipoxin, rhizopins, and then the proctins fall under this category. You have seen so far in the different amino fatty acids that there are figures that appear like ratios. This actually depict the number of carbon atoms, and then the number of uh, uh, carbon double bonds. Okay, so when you are writing the name of unsaturated fatty acids, you need to indicate the number of carbon atoms, okay, and the number of carbon to carbon double bonds. So the first figure indicates the number of carbon atoms, and then the next number indicates the number of double bonds that are between carbon and carbon. So we can also classify fatty acids in accordance to whether our body can synthesize them or not. Those that the body can synthesize are called essential, that the body can synthesize are called non-essential fatty acids. Those that the body cannot synthesize are called essential fatty acids. Okay, fatty acids. So the examples of those that the body cannot synthesize include linoleic acid, which is very important and is actually very found in vegetable oils. Okay, nuts and then different seeds. It is used, linoleic acid is used for synthesis of other omega-6 fatty acids in the body. Okay, and then we also have the alpha linoleic acid. This one is also found in plant and also sometimes animal sources. Okay, it is also a precursor for omega-3 fatty acids. So the essential fatty acids are very important in maintaining the integrity of cell structure and function. Okay, they play an important role in the development of the nervous system. Okay, they also play an important role in production of the esconoids that we earlier on talked about. The esconoids behave like hormones, okay? They produce hormone-like substances called esconoids. The non-essential fatty acids are those that are synthesized by the body or in the body and are not required in the diet, okay? Because the body actually makes them. The body makes the non-essential fatty acids. They can be used, or the body can produce non-essential fatty acids from other nutrients or along the different metabolic pathways. Palmitic acid, stearic acid, and then oleic acid are examples of these non-essential fatty acids. The fatty acids that can be synthesized by the body from other nutrients or other metabolites along different metabolic pathways. So they can play an important role as a source of energy. Okay, they can also be used in synthesizing other types of lipids, triglycerides, and also phospholipids. They contribute to maintenance of the cell membrane. They're also very important generally for our health, and our diet should actually contain optimal amounts for this, for optimal health. This slide will be deleted. So the physical properties of fatty acids, they have varying degrees of solubility and also melting point, because these two properties are basically influenced by the length of the carbon chain, but also the degree of unsaturation, that is the presence of the double bonds. So the complex lipids include the phospholipids, and we are going to look at the others. So the phospholipids are basically found on cell membranes, and they're important in enabling the existence of what we call the phospholipid bilayer. When we look at the structure of the cell membrane, it has what we call the phospholipid bilayer. And then we have the glycolipids. The glycolipids are the ones which contain what we call carbohydrate moietin. Okay, they play an important role in signaling or cell recognition, cell adhesion, and also signaling processes. They are very important. They include what we call gangliosides and cerebrocytes. Signolipids are also examples of complex lipids. They contain fatty acid chain and a polar head group together with a long chain base. They play also a very important role in cell signaling, membrane structure, and also in different disease processes. And then we have what you call the stereos. These ones, they have their lipids with the steroid structure. Cholesterol is the most common non-steroid and is also very important in cell membrane integrity. The steroids can be made, can be used to make different hormones, what we call steroid hormones. And then the last group of lipids or complex lipids are the derived lipids. These ones are made from the hydrolysis or oxidation of other lipids. So they can include fatty acids, esconoids, lipid-soluble vitamins. Okay, they play important roles